3, 2, 1, we're on the air. And welcome to the very first online version of advertising, Com 3310. And welcome to the class. It is going to be an interesting experience, and we will get through this. And the good thing is that in spite of the rather unusual nature of the class, we're already through a lot of the significant amount of material. Now, the only challenge is what we have to do next. Now, fortunately, we're in a pretty good position to go online for this. And so let me show you, sort of walk you through what we're going to do this week. Now, the basic idea this week is that we're just getting started, so please do not let this intimidate you. It's going to be easy. Well, not easy necessarily, but no harder than usual. Okay, so let's start with, let's see, there we go. Welcome to the virtual advertising online class. And so this will be just an outline of what we're talking about. First of all, I'm going to start with some declarations. Now, these declarations have to do with how I'm approaching the online class for the rest of the semester. And this would include all the classes that I'm doing. And so if you're in another of my classes, you may see some of these again. First of all, we are going to do weekly content. And so every week, there will be something that you'll be expected to do. And of course, that means that there'll also be stuff that I'll be expected to do. And you'll have weekly expectations. Every week, you'll be getting updated content from me in a form similar to this. And you'll be given some kind of an assignment or quiz or something like that to indicate that you're following along. And all assignments will be graded. Basically, they all were before, but there may be more assignments now because we don't have as much face-to-face interaction. Major assignments will still exist, but will be modified, meaning that the expectations for those assignments have changed a little bit. But at the same time, the overall experience should be similar. Progress on major assignments will be monitored, meaning that when we're doing exercises, I'm going to expect you to send me feedback on what you've done and show me examples if we're relevant, and basically make sure that we're all aware of what's going on. All grades will be posted on Blackboard. Normally, I would be handing these back to you or messages through email, so Blackboard will be the new method of choice only because it seems to be the most viable at the moment. And also, class times are going to be open. Now, that's kind of important because some of you have expressed concerns. Essentially, you will not be expected to necessarily be in a seat somewhere at normal class times, or necessarily any other time during the day, except for some exceptions. Meaning that we're going to meet for roughly the same amount of time, but it will be asynchronous, meaning you don't necessarily have to be in class at the time that I am, unless, of course, we're doing some situation where that requires, and that will happen from time to time. Material will be available online. Materials available anytime, I meant to say. So basically, every week, it looks like we have a visitor here, but every week you will have the material available for everything you need to do. Some classes may meet virtually at specific times for discussions, which we'll talk about as that comes up. Discussion boards will be available, and most of that is for questions. If you have questions that you need me to answer, or if somebody else has an answer to that question, you can chime in as well. You will not be asked to post to prove attendance. And let me clarify that one. During the training for online classes, one of the things they do is they have these discussion threads, and students are expected to post the discussion thread. And basically, let's be realistic. Most people don't talk in class. You know, if you look at a classroom full of people and you raise a question, it's usually the same people that are answering it. And some people speak up now and then. But there's a lot of people that just don't talk. And so then suddenly you're put in a position where you got to type something stupid in order to prove that you're there. And I just don't feel that that's productive. I just think that's annoying. You know, I don't necessarily want to read fluff, and I know you don't want to write it. I'm going to assume that you're absorbing the material one way or another. And When the assignments are turned in, that will be the proof. Quizzes and assignments will prove attendance, as I've just said. You are required to obtain and use software resources and technology. That's an important one. You have the right and the ability to use the Adobe software. You are on the list, and it should work. You should be able to follow the instructions and the announcement I made regarding that. You should be able to get the technology at home, wherever you happen to be, and to use it. Now, the first thing, obviously, we got to talk about for this class is the television commercial, which obviously is going to be different than it would normally have been. It's bad luck that we happen to be on this particular one because it does require resources that you don't generally have access to. But we do have other tools available that you can use. So if you don't have access to video equipment, you can use your cell phone, though I know it's not ideal, meaning that let's face it, we all have the ability to shoot video these days. The cell phone is not a television camera. It's not ideal for television work. It doesn't have a good focusing zoom lens, that sort of thing. But that doesn't mean that you can't use it. It doesn't mean it can't work for certain things. And so I would recommend that you use that if you have to. If you have access to anything better, please use that. If you are still in the Fayetteville area, we can still sign out equipment. If that comes up, just let me know. All videos must be shot in a horizontal format. Now that's because, and let me go back to face view again. That's because if you have one of these things, typically you're doing like this. You're holding it up like this, or this rather. Oh, isn't that wonderful? And so the idea is that means that your video comes out looking like, well, you get the idea. And so the idea is that we normally see, you see how the screen has a horizontal format. Don't make it have a vertical format because that's okay for your home movies and stuff like that. It is not, and I repeat, not okay for this stuff. The script remains the same. Basically, you can do almost any television commercial script in the same format, no matter what you're shooting on. And so I will expect to see a script of your television commercial. Now, originally, these were to be done in groups. I don't think that's possible anymore. So each of you will be responsible for some kind of a 30-second television commercial, which is not grievous, especially if you're not using heavy equipment. Obviously, I won't be expecting studio lighting necessarily, but I will be expecting about as good as you could do. Meaning that, yeah, you probably should be mindful of lighting, and we'll have information about that. You should be mindful of what you can do with a cell phone in terms of getting shot composition and things of that nature. Don't just point the cell phone at something and talk and expect that to work. And we'll go over that as the time permits. You also have access to the same video editing software, which will be explained in detail. We will go over how to edit video. You do have access to that equipment because you can download it and you can use it. And you also have the same image editing software, meaning that Adobe comes with everything, which includes Photoshop, Premiere, and a whole bunch of other programs that you may never even use. Okay. We also, as I said before, I don't expect you to work in teams. That's just not going to happen. If you must make your own commercial, as I've always said, that's the way it will go. If you don't have a team to work in, you can't work in teams. Now you could do a collaboration, I suppose, but if that comes up, just let me know. If you have a DSLR camera, many of those have video recording capabilities. So that could be a really good solution to this if you have one. The internet ad, that's basically going to be a banner image. We'll describe that. This will be done using Adobe Animate, which is a program that I will demonstrate to you. It's designed to create little animation programs, and I think under the circumstances, that's going to be the way to go. It should not be difficult. There's more than one way to do it, and we'll explain that as we go along. And the final project will be delivered as an animate file or an alternate version, which we'll talk about. Now, I want to thank you all for being willing to do this. I know that it's asking a lot of you. We're sort of shifting gears in a very unusual way. This is the first time this happened in my lifetime. And so, yeah, I think it's very interesting. And I also think it's appropriate that you understand that I'm approaching this as if you're doing this with me. So, for example, I am thanking Tequila. I am thanking Ahmad. I'm thanking Ford. I'm thanking Daniel. I'm thanking Rod. And I'm thanking Sarjan and Garen. I'm thanking Aaron and Alex and Dennis and Khalil and D'Angelo because we're still in this together. We're still a class. And I want to make sure that you understand that I'm seeing you as individuals and I'm here to help you as an individual. So basically what I'm going to ask you to do is if you have any questions, post them to the discussion board. There will be an assignment for Wednesday, which is in the assignments folder, which is asking you to outline what you're going to do to get the last two assignments in order. Basically, right now we're just talking about the television commercial. And send that to me by Wednesday. If you send in some kind of coherent response, you get an A. If you send in something not so coherent, you might wind up in the B range. If you don't send in anything at all, you're not going to get a grade. So that's basically it. I'm not asking that much this week. Most of this week will basically just be settling in. But in the meantime, I just want to thank you for showing up and looking this over, and I will have more information for you shortly.